A terrible story from the hotel. Hey everyone, I've got a wild story to share with you all today. So, picture this. I arrive at this hotel super late at night, and things get weird. Like, really weird. As someone who's traveled extensively and studied various cultures and architectures, I thought I'd seen it all. But this experience? It totally flipped my understanding of reality on its head. So grab a snack, settle in, and let's dive into this bizarre tale. It all began when my flight was delayed, and I didn't get to the hotel until around midnight. The moment I pulled up, I noticed the hotel's exterior was unlike any I'd ever seen. The architecture was an eclectic mix of Gothic Revival and Art Deco, with intricate stone carvings and towering spires that seemed to pierce the night sky. As an enthusiast of architectural history, I was both impressed and unnerved. The facade was illuminated by dim, antiquated lamps that cast long, eerie shadows across the cobblestone entrance. The atmosphere had a palpable tension, a sort of electromagnetic charge in the air that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched as I approached the grand double doors. Stepping into the lobby, I was immediately enveloped by a rich tapestry of sights and smells. The scent of old books mixed with a hint of mahogany and something else, ozone, maybe? The decor was lavish yet outdated. Ornate chandeliers hung from the ceiling, their crystals refracting the light into tiny rainbows, while the floor was a mosaic of geometric patterns reminiscent of sacred geometry. Behind the reception desk stood a man who could have been plucked straight out of a 19th-century portrait. He had piercing eyes that seemed to look right through me and a sly smile that didn't quite reach those eyes. "Welcome," he said in a voice that was both soothing and unsettling. "We've been expecting you." He handed me an old-fashioned brass key, heavy and cold to the touch, with an unfamiliar symbol etched into it. A complex pattern of intersecting lines and curves that looked like a blend of alchemical symbols and quantum diagrams. My background in symbolic logic told me this wasn't just decorative. "Interesting design," I commented. He simply nodded and replied, "All will become clear soon enough." I made my way to the elevator, which was one of those vintage cage lifts you'd only find in buildings with historical significance. The interior was lined with mirrors, creating an illusion of infinite space, a nod to the concept of unbounded universes in cosmology, perhaps. I pressed the button for the 13th floor. Yes, the hotel had a 13th floor. In many cultures, the number 13 is considered unlucky due to its association with the lunar solar cycle and various historical events. As the elevator ascended, it began making mechanical groans, and the lights flickered erratically. Between the 7th and 8th floors, the elevator shuddered to a stop. The doors slid open to reveal a dimly lit hallway that wasn't supposed to be there according to the hotel's floor plan. Curiosity got the better of me, and as I peered out, I saw a figure at the far end, a woman dressed in 1930s attire. Our eyes met, and it felt like time itself paused. Then, without warning, the doors closed, and the elevator continued its ascent, leaving me questioning whether I'd imagined the whole thing. Reaching the 13th floor, I found my room, number 1313. The numerological implications weren't lost on me. In some traditions, repeating numbers amplify energetic vibrations. Unlocking the door with the brass key, I stepped into a room that was a perfect blend of elegance and antiquity. The furnishings were exquisite. A four-poster bed with intricately carved symbols, an antique writing desk cluttered with quill pens and parchment, and heavy drapes embroidered with celestial motifs. The wallpaper featured a repeating pattern that resembled fractal geometries, perhaps Mandelbrot sets, interwoven with the same symbol from my key. A subtle chill permeated the room, not just in temperature but in atmosphere. It felt as if the very air was charged with ions, similar to the sensations reported in locations with high electromagnetic activity. My senses were on high alert, every fiber of my being telling me that something was profoundly unusual about this place. Unable to shake off the unease, I began exploring the room more thoroughly. Searching under the bed, I discovered an old leather-bound diary covered in dust and faintly humming. Yes, humming. Holding it, I felt a slight vibration, akin to the resonance frequencies in crystal structures studied in materials science. The diary belonged to someone named Elizabeth Hawthorne, with entries dating back over a century. She wrote about the hotel's shifting corridors and whispers of the void, referencing concepts that paralleled theories in quantum entanglement and multidimensional spaces. One passage read, The hotel is a liminal space, a juncture where realities converge. The symbols are keys to doors that should remain closed. That same symbol was on my key and woven into the very fabric of the room. I also found personal items. A locket containing a faded photograph, a man's pocket watch stopped at precisely 1313. That added to the growing enigma. As night deepened, the hotel's atmosphere grew heavier, almost oppressive. I attempted to sleep but was kept awake by a series of disturbances. The walls seemed to emit low-frequency vibrations, similar to infrasound waves that can induce discomfort and anxiety. Voices echoed through the air vents, murmurs in languages I couldn't identify, perhaps ancient dialects or even glossolalia. Shadows on the walls didn't align with known light sources, defying the laws of optics and casting doubt on my understanding of spatial dimensions. Around 3 a.m., the rotary phone on the bedside table rang. Hesitant, I answered it only to hear a cacophony of static intertwined with distant screams. "You must leave," a voice whispered before the line went dead. My cell phone had no signal, and even the hotel's Wi-Fi appeared as an encrypted network with the name TII UPTAC SA, UPTAC EO, which is connected, spelled backward and inverted, a palindromic anomaly. Driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, I ventured out into the hallway. The corridor seemed longer than before, an architectural impossibility unless space itself was being distorted, an effect observed in non-Euclidean geometry. I encountered other guests who moved in a dreamlike state, their eyes glazed over. One stopped and whispered, "The convergence is near," before continuing down the endless hallway. The art on the walls had changed, now depicting surreal landscapes that could only exist in higher dimensions. I found a door labeled Observatory, which wasn't on any floor plan. Inside was a massive room with a domed ceiling, housing a Foucault pendulum that swung erratically, defying the Coriolis effect. The stars projected above didn't match any known constellations, raising questions about our position in space-time. Returning to the elevator, I noticed a hidden panel with the symbol from my key. Pressing it, the elevator descended at an accelerated rate, far below the hotel's basement levels. The acceleration felt unnatural, almost as if gravity was being manipulated. The doors opened to a subterranean level bathed in a pulsating blue light. The air was thick, almost liquid, challenging my understanding of states of matter. Corridors stretched infinitely in all directions, reminiscent of Hilbert's infinite hotel paradox, a theoretical concept in set theory. Rooms were labeled not with numbers but with complex equations and symbols from advanced theoretical physics, strings of quantum mechanics formulas and multiverse theories. In one room, I found devices that appeared to be particle accelerators on a miniature scale. Could the hotel be conducting experiments that blur the lines between reality and perception? As I delved deeper, it became apparent that the hotel was a nexus point, a bridge between parallel universes or alternate dimensions. This aligned with hypotheses in string theory and M-theory about membranes and dimensional rifts. Visions flooded my mind, past guests trapped in temporal loops, their identities fragmented across multiple realities. It was a phenomenon akin to quantum superposition, where particles exist in multiple states simultaneously. I realized that the hotel's architecture was designed to channel and manipulate these energies, using the symbolic inscriptions as control mechanisms. The diary had mentioned rituals to maintain the balance, suggesting that the hotel required periodic sacrifices or interventions to stabilize its existence across dimensions. And now, I was entangled in this complex web. Panic set in as I grasped the gravity of my situation. I raced back to the elevator, but it no longer responded to any input. The laws of physics seemed inconsistent, time dilation effects were apparent as clocks on different walls showed different times. I tried the stairwell, which now spiraled infinitely upward and downward, an architectural paradox reminiscent of Escher's infinite staircase. Hallways looped back onto themselves, creating Mobius strips of space that trapped me in a continuous path. Staff members appeared, their faces void of emotion, eyes glowing faintly, a possible bioluminescence or something far less explainable. "You cannot leave," they said in unison. The synchronization of their speech suggested a hive mind or collective consciousness at work. Recalling the diary, I realized that my only hope lay in completing a ritual to sever my connection to the hotel. I gathered items specified in Elizabeth's writings, a mirror, the brass key, and a piece of chalk to draw the symbol on the floor. Chanting the incantations, which sounded like a mix of Latin and ancient Sumerian, I felt the room's energy shift. The air became electric, and the walls began to tremble. It was as if the fundamental frequencies of the building were being disrupted, a dissonance in the harmonic resonance. A portal began to form, swirling with colors beyond the visible spectrum, perhaps tapping into ultraviolet or infrared realms. I knew this was my chance. Summoning every ounce of courage, I stepped through, bracing myself for whatever lay on the other side. Emerging from the portal, I found myself back in the hotel lobby, which was now filled with morning light streaming through the windows. The oppressive atmosphere was gone, replaced by the mundane sounds of a typical hotel, phones ringing, staff moving about. The receptionist looked up and said, "Checking out so soon?" His tone was casual, as if nothing had happened. I didn't respond and made a beeline for the exit. Outside, the city bustled with life, cars honking, people chatting, a stark contrast to the isolation I'd felt earlier. I glanced back at the hotel and noticed the architecture had changed. The building was now a modern high-rise, devoid of the antiquated charm or ominous features from before. The brass key was still in my pocket, but the symbol had vanished. Had I slipped into an alternate reality? Was this the original timeline? Back home, I delved into researching the hotel but found no records matching its description. Historical archives, architectural databases, even quantum physics forums, nothing. It was as if the place never existed. I consulted with colleagues specializing in theoretical physics and metaphysics. Some proposed that I'd experienced a reality fluctuation, or a dimensional bleed-through, phenomena that are purely hypothetical but increasingly considered in fringe scientific discussions. While I couldn't find concrete answers, I knew one thing. The experience had expanded my understanding of reality's malleability. It challenged the very fabric of what we consider possible within the constraints of our current scientific paradigms. So there you have it. That's my unbelievable encounter at the hotel that shouldn't exist. Whether it was a hallucination, a quantum anomaly, or something beyond explanation, it left an indelible mark on me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have any of you experienced something that defies logic and reason? Let's discuss theories, scientific, metaphysical, or otherwise, in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more such mysteries, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Your support helps us delve deeper into the unknown. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning the world around you.